Okay. Can everyone see the agenda on your screen? And can everyone hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
All right, well, let's rock and roll on this one. I am going to invite Aimee Killeen, who is our WEF president, to go ahead and start the first part of our agenda today.
All right, thanks, Alexie. Everybody can hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, getting some heads nodding. Thank you. So I'm gonna go ahead and call to order the 2023-2024 WEF Business Meeting. And Kelsey, I'm gonna go ahead. I don't know if I can kick you off of sharing your screen.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, there we go. Can everybody see my screen? All right, awesome. So first, I'm going to apologize because I pulled together our State of the Federation. I was not expecting to lose 2.5 work days last week, mobilizing, dealing with a hurricane, and demobilizing shortly thereafter. So this PowerPoint is not as pretty as I'd like it to be, and it violates my rules about number of words per slide. But we're going to go ahead and talk through what the Federation's been up to for the last year. First and foremost, we hired a new executive director. We, back in, I guess, Ifatayo started this off at the end of her presidency, and we kind of kicked off at the beginning of this year in full swing in 2024. Our search committee, Jackie Gerald, Amy Corriveau, Maria Claudia Reed, Nikita Lingenfelter, Corey Williams, and Keith Hobson. These folks put in a tremendous amount of time and effort on behalf of the Federation to work with the consultant that ultimately led us to hiring Ralph. And I'm sure somewhere on my screen he's in here, and he's going to talk and hit on a lot about the strategic plan for us. We're really excited to have Ralph on board. I'm sure many of you already know Ralph very well. He's a longtime WEF volunteer and past officer of our Board of Trustees. So if you see any of the search committee when you're at WEF Tech in a couple of weeks, please tell them thank you. It really was a heavy lift, including, not just virtual, but in-person meetings. And the strategic plan, this is nothing new. What I really want to hit on are the core values down at the bottom of the strategic plan. Like I said a minute ago, Ralph's going to kind of hit on the strategic plan and where we are. But I want to make sure we're still all focusing on the core values, right? There's a lot of goals and metrics and things we want to do to accomplish the strategic plan, but we can't do any of those things if we don't lead with our core values. And that is, as you see on the screen, being bold and being agile, which, of course, we've all said it. That's not something the water sector typically is. Something we struggled with for a little while was focusing on our customers with empathy and service. And there was a lot of, well, who is our customer? A lot of questions around that. And it's like, well, whoever you're dealing with at the moment, a person buying a book could be a customer. Our delegates are customers. Our volunteers are customers. There's just so many different scenarios of who's a customer, and we want to approach our customers with empathy and service. Collaborate, and a lot of what you'll see on achieving our strategic plan goals is about collaborating with other water sector organizations or global partners, collaborating with our MAs. We're not in this alone, and collaborating is going to make it easier for us to achieve our goals. And then integrating DE&I into every single thing we do. The HOD has been a big part of that with the DE&I work group that y'all have had. Our DE&I board committee continues to make strides, and we'll hear some updates, hopefully on that, certainly at WEF Tech, if not before. So one of the things, I sat back and reflected when I was putting this together over the weekend, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what have we done for the last year? A lot. Seems like it's going by really quick. But, one of the things when we got to this point last year, we're like, hey, we're a year into our strategic plan. Really, what have we done? What's holding us back from getting a lot of this really accomplished a lot more rapidly than we were progressing? And so, we kind of at WEF Tech and shortly thereafter took a step back as a board and as staff and said, okay, what can we do? What do we need to do internally, self-reflect to move this forward a little bit quicker than we're going? So the board, the E-team, within WEF staff, and a lot of our volunteers, we did some self-reflection and said, okay, where are we maybe lacking? What can we improve upon? What can we build upon that we're doing really great? And they're really and truly, everything boils down to communications, I think, at the end of the day. But trusting that we're going to try things that aren't going to work, and that's okay, right? With this strategic plan, we're going to fail forward, accept it, and move on and try something new. So communication, as always, with everything is key, and we're working definitely to improve that with ourselves, the board, working directly with staff, with the HOD, with the CLC, and doing that just equals us actually, moving a little bit more rapidly towards achieving our strategic plan goals and objectives. Another thing that you'll see coming out of achieving our strategic plan goals and objectives is there's a lot of stuff that WEF has been doing for a really long time. Sometimes we don't know why we're still doing it. It's just because we've always done it. So the executive director and staff have very recently, so we're not going to say anything on this meeting, but hopefully in the coming months, we really need to reflect. They're doing a program assessment. What can we stop doing? And I think the bottom underlying theme that you're going to see through a lot of this, my presentation and stuff, is really and truly what we're going for as an organization is impact, right? We want to make sure we're moving the water sector forward. So however we can best boost that impact, if it's through partnering, right? Let's partner if there's going to have a larger impact than us maybe doing something on our own or us starting something from scratch. How can we partner? How can we do things together? Because at the end of the day, what we want to see is collective impact moving the water sector forward. So there are some things that are very near and dear to many of our hearts as far as the program assessment that, staff is going through and saying, hey, look, maybe we need to consider stop doing this. Maybe the impact isn't as great, or there is impact, but it's just on a handful of people. So is it truly worth the cost, right, of doing that program? So again, you'll start to see more of that in the coming months. So don't be surprised, and let's give some grace to staff if they happen to deliver the message to you about some program that's very near and dear to your heart. And please help us with your members as well that may be very dedicated to some of the programs. At the end of the day, we have to use our money, our time, and our funds wisely for the greatest impact to the water sector. So again, just wanted to throw this out there. That's something that y'all will see coming in the future. One of the things that y'all already saw where we, kind of took this in stride earlier this spring was with our specialty conferences. Taking that lens of impact, how can we have the best impact with our specialty conferences? As many of you know, putting on conferences is getting very expensive. So how can we, look at our conferences, especially our WEF specialty conferences, how can we make them more efficient, impactful, aligned with the strategic plan? How can we partner for the greatest impact? We know they're vital hubs for education, training, collaboration. And how can we work with our member associations to do that? So you've seen, y'all saw a message come from WEF staff earlier this spring, in which you're starting to probably see is, specialty conference that maybe we do 2 of them that are aligned together. Maybe we partner with a member association that has a really strong specialty conference, on the same topic. So again, we're just looking to advance that impact and have a higher impact with our specialty conferences moving forward. Some of the other stuff, 2024 was a huge year for meetings with our global partners. We've done a lot of meetings. Layla and myself and Ralph have been to EFAT, which is in Munich, and had some very good meetings with the DWA, which is the German Water Association, the European Water Association, and the Japan Sewage Works Association. I think that's right. But again, these are our global partners. There's a lot of interest that we share with our global partners, especially those in already developed countries, right? Like Germany, the European Union, and Japan, where we can talk about things like PFAS, the circular water economy. We're very interested here in how Europe's going to implement their producer pays for removing, forever chemicals from cosmetics and actually making the producer pay, right? So having these relationships is important because then we can see, hey, if this cosmetic company removed something that they put in cosmetics in Europe, can they not do that here in other parts of the world too? So again, and of course, they were very interested in our new PFAS regulations for the drinking water side. So we shared that information with them. Same with Singapore. They're very interested in sharing, some of their AI tools, their generative AI and how we do benchmarking and community sharing and innovation. The International Water Association, that was up in Toronto a few months ago. I know many of y'all were there. But again, we have a lot of shared technical interests with that group. And then Stockholm International Water Institute, that meeting was a couple weeks ago. That's where the Stockholm Junior Water Prize is handed out. And there's some interest in some assistance in how we can work together. And then, share some more of that global policy and just some of the meetings we had when we were there with Alliance for Water Stewardship, the Inter-America Development Bank, other global partners that are important to us, again, moving the water sector forward and having impact, the greatest impact. Other thing we're doing, and Janet, I don't know if you want to throw something here in at the end, but we are preparing for our 100-year anniversary in 2028. I know it's 4 years away, but it takes years for such an old organization to prepare. There was a task force that was assembled after, I guess, a year ago, right about a year ago. They went through, reviewed the steps and items necessary to prepare for our 100-year. We have engaged a consultant to help us with this. And a lot of what that consultant's doing is kind of going through a lot of our historical documents that we have as an organization are actually still paper documents, sitting up in the WEF building and maybe like some warehouse somewhere else. I'm not sure. But trying to get all that information and digitize it so that we actually have it all in one digital place as opposed to in limitless boxes sitting at WEF headquarters building. So they are going through a lot of that to make sure we have those important documents in our history, in a format that we can all access and not sitting in a building somewhere. So we're doing that. They're also in the process of recording oral stories, which is, it's important to all of us to hear from, VIPs of the past within the organization to get those stories documented, again, digitally so that we can have them from years to come. Janet, do you have anything you want to add to that I missed?
I think you covered everything really well, Amy. It is sort of a two-pronged project. One, collecting our history and making sure we have what is valuable and discarding what is duplication. And then following it up with how we're going to celebrate 100 years of Water Environment Federation.
Yep. So look for more to come over the next few years as we plan that fun celebration. So other things I wanted to hit on WEF Tech. I'm not sure if Ralph or any of the other staff are just going to hit on like the larger picture of WEF Tech. We have renegotiated earlier this year our contract with Freeman. They're the ones who run the convention centers. Thanks to Ray and Stephanie for doing that. So you'll see some changes as a result of that new renegotiation. The award ceremony that is usually on Tuesday afternoon is now on Monday afternoon. That's a pretty significant savings, like buy a new house type savings for moving just from Tuesday to Monday. So, it's things like that we're looking for to make our organization more efficient and effective. So those awards are being moved to Monday, and the good thing that we're excited about is that now it no longer overlaps with the Ops Challenge Award ceremony. One of the other things we considered, and the hotels have very nicely been asking us to move away from over the last many years, is the presidential in-suite receptions into the middle of the night. Again, we can use that money for better purposes, more efficient and effective purposes, and have not quite so many things centered around alcohol as well. You'll notice some AV changes. I think that's more on the CLC side. AV at the conference center, when WEF staff says, hey, look, it's costly to do this, they mean like new car costly, not like, oh, it's just a couple $100. So what we're asking people to do is, hey, get creative. If you can hop on a Teams call to share slides, there may not be AV. I think the HOD is all taken care of and has AV for all of its meetings. But again, as we continue to see expenses at convention centers and hotels for conferences rise and rise, these are just some of the changes you'll see. And again, I think it's easy nowadays with technology to kind of get around some of these things. So again, thanks to Ray and Stephanie, our renegotiated contract is definitely going to save us some money moving forward over the next several years. But we all know, like I mentioned earlier, there's still pretty significant increasing costs for food, beverages, and other things related to conferences that we're taking into consideration. I have to say, I was at Kentucky, Tennessee last week for a few days, but the 2 conferences I was at before that were international. I mean, like, all they served was water to drink, right? Like, in one of them, if you didn't have a water bottle, you weren't drinking. So, this isn't just us. This is around the world that expenses are going up to the cost, to the tune where people are having to make changes to how they do stuff. And then I guess this is my last slide, but I can't wait to see everybody at WEF Tech in a couple weeks down here in New Orleans. It is still very unpleasantly hot and humid, so prepare for that. And, fingers crossed, no hurricanes. And I can't wait to see y'all then. All right, let me see what was next on the agenda.
Next we have Chris Hilditch.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to turn it over to our treasurer, Christine Hilditch, to give a financial report. Chris, are you on?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. So it's my pleasure to give WEF's financial report this afternoon. So every year we have an annual business meeting, which is today. And at this point in time, I'd like to go over the finances in the next couple of slides. But every month, members of the House of Delegates Budget Committee attend the monthly WEF finance meetings. With me today is Doug Pike. You can wave, Doug. And Doug Kubrick. I don't know whether he's on today, but they are your representatives on the Finance Committee. As such, they also attend I also attend their budget committee meetings, and in turn, they this year participated in the audit audit committee. So this year we had a new auditor that we selected as a group. We also participated in a finance report to the CLC committee, so that everyone is kept up to date on our overall finances for the year. Our biggest lift is the annual budget, and in July of this year, the budget was approved by the Finance Committee and the board, but prior to that, your representatives also participated in the review meetings of that budget, and the board then approved it on August 9th. So good news to report for WEF's financial staff. They had a clean audit. And this year we had 2 audits, the regular financial audit as well as a federal audit. We are recipients of grants from the CDC as part of the COVID tracking. And as such, because of the amount of money we received, it's over $1 million over the years, we are required to do a federal audit. So the auditors concluded that everything was in good order, and the phrase they use is it was a clean audit. So congratulations to WEF staff for their work in preparing all those documents for the auditors to look at. A new audit firm was also selected this year. The name of the company is Rogers & Company. So for the next 3 years, we will be using a new firm. Part of that firm's proposals was that they were also less expensive. So again, with coming in the theme of working smarter, that we were looking to save some money on the new firm. Our operating revenue for 2024 was on target with budget. And we had some very good news with WEF Tech and some of the specialty conferences is that they earned more money than what was expected. So they performed better than budget. Of interest to the member associations is that the MA grant program was continued in 2024 and also in 2025 at the amount of $125,000 per year. So all good news, but recognizing that WEF continues to have an operating deficit. That deficit started with COVID, and FY24 was budgeted to expect an operating deficit. The good news is we have very healthy reserves from past business performance. Mainly our money is made off of WEF Tech. So we've had some very successful WEF Techs. We're looking to have a great WEF Tech this year, thanks to the marketing group at WEF. However, we are a business. So in the coming year, we will be looking for savings and everything we can do to improve performance. If we look at our year of 2024 in terms of the accounting, we had a good year because our investments in the stock market did so well. So our non-operating activity performed very, very well. And our reserves will continue to be positive. Slide. So now let us look forward to 2025 and our ongoing investments. We will continue to participate in world-class events. Certainly we recognize WEF Tech as well as our specialty conferences. As Aimee mentioned, we will be combining some conferences and re-envisioning the circular water economy. Our focus will continue to be on diversity, equity, inclusion in everything we do. Members, as Aimee said, are at the center, so member retention and acquisition will continue to be a focus. We will continue to focus on our technical communities and volunteer support, and certainly looking at the investments that were done in the various IT sector. WEF will continue to support operator training and education, the Ops Challenge, as well as the new tools for the new tools for operator training, the 3 manuals. WEF also continues MA support. Annually, as I said, we will give $125,000 the member associations can apply for, and the House of Delegates Budget Committee will allocate those funds based on the successful application of our member associations. WEF also supports WEF Maxes. So we've had 3 in-person WEF Maxes, and WEF provides financial support to those member associations to make them the success they are through the efforts of the individual member associations. We continue with an online education platform, and more importantly, we support outreach and advocacy in government affairs. And for those of you that haven't become an advocate, please do sign up for the website to become an advocate. It's very important that our voices be heard in Congress. We will also be continuing to work with the CDC to improve health outcomes, and we are participating in those programs for early detection of disease. So let's now look at an overview of that 2025 budget. As I mentioned, we will continue to have an operating deficit, but our cash reserves are strong. Our performance in the stock market has also been strong. So as an overall overall look at the finances, that will balance. WEF is going to be WEF staff under the direction of our new executive director will continue to work at eliminating the deficit. As part of that, there was a voluntary retirement plan offered to long-term staff that is going to position ourselves to have an improved financial performance. WEF staff will also be conducting detailed program assessments to reassess what can we do better and what are those programs that are not as successful as in successful support of our mission. Because again, we always want to be having our customer at the center. So that will mean that we will have some changes to better serve our customers and also to be financially responsible. And we're also exploring some new revenue opportunities, as Aimee said, new partnerships to make our programs more successful. Our 25 budget will include $1.5 million in strategic plan initiatives. That is based on implementing our current strategic plan. So that concludes my update. Any comments, questions, or additional information you need?
Y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
I got a question. So as far as a deficit, how much of a deficit are you talking? A few thousand, a few hundred thousand? I'm just curious.
It's $2 million.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Christine before we turn it over to Ralph? She will also be at the HOD meeting, so any questions for the treasurer, she will be there. All right, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, and now I will go ahead and turn it over. I think Ralph is on the agenda next as I scroll back, yes, to give us some high-level priorities for the upcoming year.
Terrific. Thank you. And I just want to thank everybody as well that's on the call here today. It's like 2 months almost to the day since I've been in this role. And I just want to thank everybody for such a warm welcome into this particular role. Not a warm welcome into the WEF family because I've been a member of the family for a long time, but just in this particular role. So thank you very much for that. Let's go to the next slide. I want to touch upon a few things that have already been mentioned, but I'll expand on them a little bit and talk about a few other things. But I want to talk about the voluntary retirement plan that was mentioned, how we're addressing sort of interim from an organization standpoint as a result of that. A quick update on WEF Tech, which I'm sure everybody will enjoy. And then as Aimee said, I just want to give a little bit of context on where we are in terms of building out the strategic plan. And then if we have any time, I'll open up for some questions. So Kelsey, if you could go to the next page. So I think most of you have heard of this already, but I just want to let everybody know what this entails. So, soon after I joined the organization in this capacity, we're looking at the finances as Christine said, and just felt that like one of the best things that we could do is recognize some of our long tenured staff members that have been with the organization for a long time, that have done so much great work. The organization wouldn't be what it is today without them. But in order to sort of recognize all the work that they did, we offered a voluntary retirement plan, and it was very formulaic. It's just basically you had 20 years of service, or your age plus your years of service equal to a certain number, then it became you're qualified for the plan. And then it was purely voluntary for those that were qualified for the plan, whether they wanted to take it or not. So just at a high level, when you work through the sort of the formula that we used, we have about 100 staff. There was about 20 that were qualified, and 11 of those, after contemplation, and we gave time for them to think about it. We even provided access to financial assistance so that they could talk to a financial advisor to see what worked best for them. And they evaluated sort of what the voluntary retirement package would be, and these 11 accepted it. Now, the first question that a lot of people had was, well, the timing is terrible because we're leading up to WEF Tech, right? So we addressed that right out of the gate. We told every single one of them that if they're working on WEF Tech and they're interested in contracting with us, for a period of time to help us get through that trans period in WEF Tech, that we would make sure that takes place. And as you can see on the list here, quite a few of them did contract back, through a period of time to help us get through a transition period, which has been great, for them, great for us. It's a bit of a win-win situation for us. But we let them make their own decision, and then we helped them to exit in style because we had a wonderful retirement celebration for them. We brought everybody into the building. We had a great luncheon and cake and champagne and gifts and speeches, and it was a very heartwarming type of an event. And they were all super appreciative, that we handled it in the way that we did. But also I want to let you know that, some of them have also agreed to come to WEF Tech because they were working on some very specific projects. So a few of them you'll see at WEF Tech. Please, give them, a big hug and in celebration of sort of their next leg of their journey. But Nick will be there, Diane Crilly, and Tangi will be there. I don't know if there's somebody else, maybe, and I think Lynn might be there as well. So there's a number of folks that will be, around at WEF Tech doing what they normally do, but it's part of their retirement package. So I just wanted to give everybody an update on that. It's it's something that certainly has had an impact on the organization because of just the amount of work that they've all done over the years. But I can't tell you how great the rest of the staff has been, is just picking up, the slack and jumping in and helping out and sort of, with the transition and everything else. It's just been really terrific. So it's been smooth so far for sure. But if we go to the next page, that sort of begs the question of, okay, well, what are we going to do about this now that 11 people have left the organization? So if you don't have it, between Kelsey and I, we'll make sure that you can get a copy of the interim organizational chart, that just shows how we're covering this. But it really comes down to a couple of things. One is, with Lorna and Renee leaving the executive team, I wanted to have those particular teams that reported to them anchored to the E team. So I asked John to sort of on an interim basis manage the publishing team, and I asked Steve Hamai to manage the association engagement team, for an interim period until we reassess what we need to do and how we want to do this going forward. But the great thing about doing something like this is, that it gives you an opportunity to refresh the organization. So, we're not, unfortunately, we can't capture everything as savings. We have some gaps. We need to fill those gaps. And we went through a process of identifying, well, what are our biggest gaps? Whether that has to do with the people that are leaving or whether it has to do with our strategic plan. And we came up with 5 critical roles that are in the process of being filled. Some of them we're still tweaking the final, language in the job description, but others are posted. And what we're trying to do is just go internal and encourage members of the staff to apply for something that they feel that they're qualified for, that they have interest in, and giving us a chance to sort of, tell us, what they would do with it, how they would manage through, taking one of these particular roles. And it gives us a chance to refresh the organization, because if we do it from internal, then we're going to open up some other roles as well, and gives other people, a chance to apply for those roles. And it's like pruning a tree. You just get a chance to, snip a little bit here and there, and then it just blossoms, even more than it was before you started the process. So that's where we're going right now with some immediate roles. There will be more, particularly post WEF Tech, once we get through this period and we get through the transition period with some of the people that contracted. There will be other roles that will be posted as well, and we'll just continue that process of refreshing the organization and giving members of staff just an opportunity to sort of develop into potentially new and and unique roles that they hadn't anticipated, and just sort of growth and development opportunities for them. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So really, WEF Tech is right around the corner, and I got to tell you, after looking at these numbers for the number of years that I've looked at them, I'm just blown away by what the staff has been able to do in preparation, not only for the next couple of weeks, but even in preparation for next year's event. Registrations are very high. If you take the snapshot of, you're a couple of weeks out type of thing, where were we in the previous years at the same point in time? Strong double-digit, growth and ahead of, previous years, whether that has to do with registration, whether it has to do with sales, whether it has to do with sponsorships, whether it has to do with, the square footage on the floor. But these are the numbers here. I think they speak for themselves. It's going to be a terrific event. The team has done a wonderful job, and it was cross-functional. I mean, it was across the board. It was sales and business development and marketing, and just the organization staff has just been, hitting the ball out of the park on this, and they're already getting ahead of the curve in terms of Chicago next year with 56% of the trade show floor already committed. So it's a really, really terrific story. And we just can't wait to get there and really see the fruits of all the work that's gone into this. One more topic let me hit, and that's the strategic plan implementation. So the strategic plan is out there. We all are familiar with the strategic plan, but the real work comes into, okay, so what are we going to do now to take those concepts and put them into actions and initiatives and physical programs. So, I came into this, sort of halfway through what you see the timeline here, at the July Board of Trustees meeting, got a chance to sort of like hear and see it and be part of it, myself. I think that the committee, did a great job, carrying it from, here's the concepts to here's what we're going to do as far as specific initiatives goes. And then at the board meeting, a couple of months ago, we had the opportunity to say, okay, how do we translate all these great ideas into the top priorities for fiscal 25 so that we can just stay focused on what needs to be done in terms of what we can measure and what we can execute on within that first year that will sort of set the stage up for the outer years. So we did a great exercise at the board meeting in that regard. And we talked about, the key pillars, whether that's workforce, whether it's circular water economy, whether it's communities. And then we spent a little bit of time thinking about, okay, it's one thing to try and implement these things in the in the North America, but when you get outside of North America, what really is the game plan? So we put a extra work into that over the past couple of months. We'll review it in a few weeks at WEF Tech and get some alignment with the board on that. And then after the board meeting, when all that's agreed, we've already started putting together a summary document so that all of you can see what that next level of detail is, and have a brief description for all the key initiatives that feed into the strategic plan. So that, I think, in an upcoming, a meeting post WEF Tech, I'd love to get the opportunity to just walk and talk all of you through that, because that should be ready, soon after WEF Tech. And then it's really just it's the grind at that point. It's like, okay, let's go. Let's get these initiatives off the ground and let's get them moving, so that we can continue that implementation and then do a check-in to see whether or not we need to pivot, or whether we need to go harder, or whether we need to potentially go in a different direction or kill. Because as Aimee said earlier, we have a lot of programs right now, and we're adding more, so we do need to decide what we're going to stop doing, and that's part of this process as well. We've started that process, and we've identified that the handful that really needs to make decision time, and so those decisions will be coming soon, And what we agreed is, we're not going to just announce, we're going to communicate with the proper stakeholders, before we do that, just so everybody's informed, and that we're not missing something, that needs to be taken care of before we go into a full sunset. So those are the main topics. I know I went through that pretty quick. Obviously, I'll be at WEF Tech. I'll be at as many of the meetings as I can. I'll certainly be there Saturday morning for all those meetings, like I always am, in the back of the room drinking my tea, milling around with the past officers. But I'll be more front and center this year, I promise. But if any questions, I'm happy to take them.
I'm not seeing any hands, and we're a few minutes over. So to keep us on schedule, like Ralph said, if he'll be at WEF Tech, feel free to find any of us if you have questions about anything he presented. So that concludes the 2023-2024 WEF Business Meeting. I will go ahead and turn it back over to Alexie for the HOD meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you, Aimee. All right, everyone. Welcome to the House of Delegates meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order. Kelsey, do you mind sharing the agenda? Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. So first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. So I would like to entertain motions to approve the agenda for today.
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Okay, motion is passed. Thank you all very much. Second item on the agenda today is the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes of the September 2023 House of Delegates meeting. I would like to entertain a motion to approve those meeting minutes.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Fantastic. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. I know there's a lot more of you guys on here. Okay, any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion passed. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to invite Ifatayo Venner, who is the WEF Nominating Committee Chair and our immediate past president, to provide her recommendations from the Nominating Committee.
Thank you, Alexie, and thank you, Kelsey, for sharing. First off, I just want to acknowledge the Nominating Committee and the work that they've done this year. So as the immediate past president, I serve as the chair. And then Aimee Killeen, as president, serves as our vice chair and will take over as chair next year. We also have one board member called Solanki, and then two folks from the HOD, Mark Poling and Scott Orrit. And I really want to thank the team for their excellent deliberations as we kind of work through this all year. Really great group. So thank them all as well, because I know it's some work, especially around the time of nominations. So next slide, Kelsey. So the reason why we're here today is under the bylaws, the House, the secretary submits to the trustee and officer nominations. So how it works is essentially our nominating committee works with the board to identify what gaps we have in our board when you recognize who will be rolling off of that thing. And then we also consider what the future of WEF is looking like in the next, 1 to 3 years, as far as what gaps we think we want to fill on the board and what characteristics we feel like we need to fit in our trustees. And then we also, since we have the capability to add up to 15 in the board and we're 12, the board also lets the nominating committee know how many trustees they are looking for. And so that's the guidance that we have. And then we go through and we work through how We're going to evaluate those folks, and then we get the responses when we put out our call for nominations, and then that nominating committee approves that. And as it says in our bylaws, we inform the secretary, which is Ralph, the executive director of the organization, who then submits that to you all, which you would have seen that in our nominating committee report that was sent at the end of July to you all. And per the bylaws, the secretary shall submit these trustee and officer nominations accepted by the board, which we did in our July board meeting, to the House. And then the House, which we're doing today, shall consider and confirm the trustees and shall elect the officers by majority vote. So I just wanted to set that stage for all of you, since some of you may be new to this process. Kelsey, next slide, please. So I just wanted to share a little bit about the gap analysis and what, the board was thinking as far as with, myself and others rolling off of the board, what we may be missing that was guidance to the nominating committee as far as how we evaluate our recommendations. I think this is also very useful for you all, because one of the things that I want to touch on again is one of our great feeders to our board has historically been our member associations and the House of Delegates. And that is something that in recent times, we're not seeing as many candidates coming through. So I want this to serve as some encouragement for you all that if you are interested in the board, these are some of the things that we are looking for. And, next year, Aimee will share it, what sort of gaps we are looking for. But we're just really looking for great candidates who are interested in serving. And feel free, please, to reach out to me and anyone on the board if you want any information on the serving on the Board of Trustees and what is it we do, what the time and commitment is, all of that. I could tell you, and I'm sure many of them, I don't want to speak for them, but I will. It's probably one of the most fulfilling volunteer activities that we have done in our careers, and also just the most fun. Really great group. So I'll be sad to be rolling off this year, but really thrilled to see what, who's there to take us forward. So one of the things we are missing is that with myself and then Aimee leaving next year, we were a little bit low in representation from the South in particular, really looking to get better experience in manufacturing and vendor experiences. That was something that we thought we were a little bit light on, especially in light of their importance to the organization. And then communications experience and background was something we wanted to have, not necessarily a communications specialist per se, although that would be great, but certainly someone with experience in that area. It's something we always want to keep an eye on. I think the board had said, at the moment, we thought we were okay in this area as it relates to what our WEF looks like at the moment, but just to really keep an eye on race and ethnicity so that we make sure that the progress that we've made in that area, we don't roll back. And then just noting some of the other things that we sort of talked about of what might be nice to bring into our sphere as far as experience in terms of digital, AI, regulatory experience, more on the smaller rural utilities, whether that be directly or indirectly, and then always, looking towards global, having, ties to our academics and our students. And then, publications. Global, I think, with, us making the determination following this to move forward with our global, to really investigate what kind of global strategy we want to have over the next 10 years. I think that actually sort of rose in importance along the way. But that's just a summary of the gap analysis and some general things we considered while we were looking at those candidates. All right, so now I want to get to confirmation of trustees, and I'll summarize the two candidates that we are bringing forward before we get to the motion. So our first candidate is Walid Khoury. He is from Dubai, but has been engaging with the WEF sphere. He's currently on our WEF Tech Advisory Committee. I think this is our last year, and he kind of calls himself an aquapreneur, which I had not actually heard that title until he put it there, but I think it makes quite good sense. He previously worked for Danaher and GE out in the Middle East, Africa, and then Pakistan, until he went to form his own firm which looks at, water business within many regions within Africa. One of the things that I thought was cool, actually, how I came to know Walid in the past, was he is a little bit of a water influencer with, about 34,000 followers on LinkedIn, very, very active, does a lot of podcasts and so on. And certainly you can see him around at various global conferences as a technical expert and speaker. And then he's a co-founding member of the Water Positive think tank, again, really tying into our circular water economy, strategic goal as well. So that's a little bit about Walid. Next slide, Kelsey. And then we have Brian Persing. He works for WSSC in Maryland, and he has wastewater 5A license. He is also the second vice chair of the Utility Management Committee and has participated in our Water Leadership Institute and then subsequently been on the steering committee for that. As far as, of course, that we're in our strategic plan implementation. He was engaged with the strategic plan development team for WSSC's recently launched strategy. And then, of course, they'll be doing implementation of that over the next years. He actually started out in the lab and then later doing contract ops, a lot of them at some very small facilities up in upstate New York and elsewhere. And also worked at a chemist at Eastman Kodak and Organichem. So a little bit of industrial experience as well in their biosolids, water, wastewater. So very well-rounded on that lab and operations side. So a nice perspective as well to bring to the board. And so that summarizes the two trustees that we are wanting the House to consider for confirmation. And so with that, I would like to entertain a motion to confirm Walid Khoury and Brian Persing as trustees on the WEF Board of Trustees. Do I have anyone who wants to make that motion?
So moved.
Who was that?
So moved.
Happily.
Second, Clint Rogers.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion on these two candidates? All right. Hearing none, we'll ask for a vote. All in favor. You can raise your hands. Any of those things.
Aye.
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 I'll give a little time for that to go. Any opposed? All right, I haven't heard any. All right, well, I guess that motion passes. Thank you very much. And I'll move on to election of the vice president. And the board is recommending Paul Schuler for vice president of the WEF Board of Trustees moving forward. Paul is a former trustee. I think he rolled off just a little bit before I rolled on, and he's also PNCWA former chair of that member association as a young professional, actually. He's also an elected official on the board of his local water district and has experience with multiple aspects of water as far as on the municipal and on the industrial side. A lot of experience in strategy, growth, change management, sales expertise. All skills and experience that I think will be really valuable to the board and the organization as we are moving forward with our strategy implementation and a lot of the plans that we have for our strategic initiatives and things like that. So really, really excited to have his expertise on that. And, he also worked formerly at GE and Suez, so brings some of that manufacturer experience. He currently works at Carollo as a senior strategic advisory, and he is out west in Oregon. Really, really excited to have this expertise on board. And with that, I want to entertain a motion for Paul Schuler as WEF vice president. Do I have a motion for that? Well, actually,
So
yeah.
moved.
Thank you. Any second? Any discussion on Paul? Right. All in favor, please.
Aye.
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 Right, I've got lots of ayes, hard to count, but I've seen quite a majority of them. Thank you very much. Do I have any opposed? Right, seeing none, that motion passes. And so congratulations to our two trustees and our vice president. I don't know if they're on, but I wish them well. It's going to be a most wonderful experience. And I'm sure we will all provide them with the support that they need to make that successful. So thank you, everybody. And also thank you for all of your support on my 7 years. I'll take that opportunity to do that as well, and pass that on to the next agenda item.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. So next on the agenda is the approval of the House of Delegates Nominating Committee recommendations. And I'm going to ask Mandy Shepish, who is our House of Delegates Nominating Committee Chair, to share those recommendations with us.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Can everyone hear me okay? One
Yes.
thumbs up. Yes, thank you. Okay, fantastic. Well, I've got the distinct privilege to represent the Nominations Committee in this report out. Most other committees have their report outs at WEF Tech, but since the Nominations Committee is announcing the committee placements, we do this ahead of time so that everyone can actually be effective, meet together at the big day on Saturday of WEF Tech. So do I have slides? Kelsey, are you sharing those, or am I able to use my own?
I can bring them up. I have them ready to go. Let me just pop them up here.
That'd be fantastic. All right, so my first thanks is to the people that applied for positions. As always, we had a great show of interest in House of Delegates leadership positions and in committees. Not everybody was able to be placed in the places that they had asked to be. Not everyone was able to be placed at all, but we've done our best in this 2024 period to be able to put together rosters that reflect diversity, that offer pathways for emerging leaders, and that ultimately set the HOD in a path, really in a path of success for the 2025 year. Kelsey, when we get those up, I don't want to go too far without recognizing my committee members. And so we took a great candid camera picture on our last committee call. And I want to make sure that we get that up there to recognize those individuals. And those include Jim Barsanti, Scott Foley, whose voice I recognized from the motion earlier, from all of our hard work together, Cam Law, Aaron Longworth, Mark Poling, and Bill Davis as Speaker-elect. All right, beautiful. Let's go one slide up on that so I can make sure we all embarrass ourselves.
Sorry about that. I thought I was sharing my screen, but apparently I was not. So,
all good.
there you go.
All right, so this is our 2024 Nominations Committee. Unfortunately, Cam, Aaron, and Mark were not, they snuck out of the picture, but this was really a great group to work with. I've worked with a lot of these people before in previous committees, and so definitely was fortunate to have a really good group with diverse opinions to be able to represent that. So again, thanks to the committee, thanks to the applicants, and then let's go ahead to the next slide. So last year, Bill Davis and I led the strategic planning rollout work group. And I think it's worth revisiting why nominations is so critical. So I've got kind of the summary of the strategic plan on here and then our strategic goals. But you'll see on here, attract and develop a diverse workforce and a diverse group of leaders. Goal number 2 is purpose-driven community. Goal number 3 is leadership. So the common theme in all of these is that we need leaders that are passionate and leaders that are going to help the HOD and all of WEF to get work done as we continue through here. So these are the things that the Nominations Committee were looking for. And by association, these are all the values, of course, that the committees and work groups are charged with. So as our committee members, as our work group members, and our leaders move forward into the following year, we want to keep these in mind, in front of mind. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. The Nominations Committee charter is pretty straightforward. We are to elect a single Speaker-elect, 4 delegates at large, and then members of the Nominations Committee, Budget, WEF Mex, DEI, Communications, and Water Advocacy. Every other year, we also have the opportunity to nominate a WEF Nominations Committee member. So our report out here is going to show you who those candidates are and solicit support from the HOD for electing those. So drum roll, please. If your hand is still up from a previous motion, you can take it down. Otherwise, get your thumbs ready to, or your fingers ready to react here, and hopefully we get some nice congratulations going to our incoming appointees. So without further ado, welcome to our new HOD leadership. The Budget Committee is Janine Brooks-Wells, Dylan Curtis, Ellen Ferketic, Aaron Longworth, Doug Pike as chair, and Jamie Wallace. Our DEI Committee, Amy Baker will be leading as chair, Scott Foley, Ellen Ferketic, Valerie Partey, and James Hawthorne. Next slide. On the Nominations Committee, David Brown, Aaron Longworth, Rosie Nogle, Luce Serino, Mike Welke, and Greg Shaw. I'll also mention that the Nominations Committee for the 2025 year is trying something new that's kind of been pre-approved by the HOD, but the chair for this coming year for the Nominations Committee will be our past speaker. And that was in an effort to really make sure that Alexie has no way out, to make sure that our past speakers continue to provide benefit and are able to stay engaged there. On the WEF Max Committee, Candace Young, Emily Cole Prescott, Clint Rogers, Tina. We all know Tina. I won't harm you with the attempt at pronouncing, and Lee Thomas as chair. Again, big obligations for all of these committees, and we've got great groups here. As you also will remember, we have 2 new committees this year that we filled for. So in the last several years, we had to find butts for seats for 4 committees. This year, we had to pull from a wider group. So our new Communications Committee and Water Advocacy Committees, this is the first time that we're filling seats for these via the nominations process. So for Communications, Emily Cole Prescott, Dan Collins, John Corkery, Christina Dragish as chair, Kara Young, Cam Law, Sarah Levitt Ward, and Laura Jo Oakes. And for Water Advocacy, Jayla Berry, Peter Garvey, Liz Heiss, Carol Martinson as chair, Damaris Noriega, and Zach Loeb. Welcome to all of our new committee members. Thank you very much. I will remind everyone this is a competitive process. There's not always enough seats to get people that are interested into a position. So thank you all for applying and for the huge impact I know you're all going to have on the HOD this year. All right, our next slide is delegates at large. These are 4 individuals that are selected for a 3-year appointment. As a fellow delegate at large, I'm proud to say that this is a position that brings high energy and a huge level of commitment to the organizations. This is some of our most outstanding HOD members, our delegates at large. So it's huge shoes to fill. And that being said, we want to welcome our incoming delegates at large, Jayla Berry, James Hawthorne, Zachary Loeb, and Archana Sharma. Welcome, everybody. All right, on to the next slide. The Nominations Committee, as I mentioned, this is a biannual selection process. This committee is charged with selecting the incoming trustee and vice president for WEF. So it's separate from the HOD Nominating Committee, and there's only one person appointed every other year for this. Our selection for this year is Dave Galbraith. And Dave, I know you'll do a fantastic job. Before you forward to the next slide, I will just say that the next slide is going to be our speaker-elect, and hopefully this is news and the news hasn't spread, but we looked at 3 incredible candidates, 3 really
Mandy,
strong applications. Yep.
Let me just interrupt you real fast before we go there. Before we go to speaker-elect, and go ahead and confirm what we have so far.
Fantastic.
Will that work?
Yeah,
Okay.
Can I request a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Mandy.
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, real quick, I got an email about the Communications Committee telling me that I'm chair next year, and that's not what you presented. I just want to make sure if
Laura Jo, let me see.
Yeah, thanks, Laura, because I was caught off guard that,
sorry about
I was
that,
going to
guys.
be chairing it.
Yeah, no, I got it. That's okay.
Yeah, me too.
I'm happy to let you lead and to support you. I'm happy to do either way, but happier if you lead.
No worries. I was just like, oh no, did I read the email wrong? But I just checked and it. No.
Thank you, Laura Jo. Thank you.
That's
Thank you. So
okay.
you'll know who to find at WEF Tech as these committees get kicked off. But yeah, fantastic leadership all around from everybody on these committees.
So do we need to do a modification of the motion to accept with the clarification that Laura Jo is the chair of the Communications Committee?
Excellent. Yeah, I like it. Nice procedural change, Bill. Thank you.
So moved.
Second, Mark Foley.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you all. And this was just intended to be a red herring to make sure you're all paying attention this far into the conference call. Thanks, Laura Jo. All right, on to the next, which is our speaker-elect. As I mentioned, there were 3 incredible candidates this year that really represented a strong set of perspectives, really had some strong visions on the future of the House. I'm super excited to share with you that Scott Orrit has been selected as speaker-elect, and we look forward to the House of Delegates under your leadership, Scott. Congratulations. Should I entertain then a motion to approve Scott as speaker-elect?
So moved, Scott Foley.
Second, Mark Foley.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Fantastic. All opposed? All right. Congratulations, Scott. Congratulations, David. Congratulations to our delegates at large and all our committee participants. This is going to be a great year ahead. We're really looking forward to your contributions. So with that, I think that was the second to last on the agenda. I'll pass it back to you, Alexie, for closing thoughts.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Mandy.
Thanks, all.
Can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. I noticed my video kept freezing. I don't know if it was freezing on your end, but it was freezing on mine and driving me crazy. So I shut it off for right now. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see it?
Yep, we can see it.
Wonderful. Okay, I love
Yeah.
it when technology actually works for a change. All right. So I'm just going to give you guys a brief message regarding this past year with the HOD. And so one of the main themes of this year was to be curious and not judgmental. That quote is attributed by Walt Whitman. As you all know, I'm a huge Ted Lasso fan. And was really moved by the use of this quote in that series. So I've been using it and sprinkling it throughout everything that all of our communications this year. But be curious, not judgmental. That is what I really wanted out of this year. I wanted all the delegates to ask the question instead of just assuming the answer, and look for ways that we can change, look for ways that we can improve. So how did we do that? We did that in 3 ways. We did that through humility. So humility isn't denying your strengths, it's being honest about your weaknesses. We all know what we know, and it's important to also know what you don't know and surround ourselves with people who have different strengths and weaknesses from you so that we are forming a very well-rounded community. So hustle. Hustle is to have the courage and confidence, the self-belief and self-determination to just go out there, work it out until you find the opportunities that you want in life. So change does not come because you're sitting around waiting for it. It comes because you are actively pursuing it. You have hustle, you have drive. And then heart. So by living and working with heart, we create a deeper bond and impact with the people and the work that we're committed to. We all love water. We all love WEF. We all love our member associations, our constituencies, our fellow delegates, our fellow, people in our industry, and leading with that heart and acknowledging it and embracing it is really what gives us the motivation to continue this type of work. It really is what drives us to want to do and be better for our clients, for our customers, for our fellow members, everything. So what questions do we ask? What were we curious about this year? And this is just a sampling. There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions asked this year, which was fabulous. So a quick just sampling of that. We talked about the House of Delegates strategic plan. What is the House of Delegates and why do we have it? What is the point of it? Where do we want to go with it? So we talked about mission, vision, values, and goals. Similar to the WEF, aligning with the WEF strategic plan, but something that is very centered on the House of Delegates. We continued the discussion on the House of Delegates of the future that was started last year by Donnell. We focused those questions regarding emerging leaders and the delegates at large. How can we better support those groups of people? How can we better utilize their skills? How can we build them up? How can we embrace them more? So all these questions were being asked throughout this year. Additional questions, past speaker roles. So that's the change. The House of Delegates Policies and Procedures does not have a very defined role for the past speaker. And that was something that our steering committee was looking to change for this year. And so we are doing kind of a pilot year on what roles can this past speaker help fill to take some of the load off of the speaker and speaker-elect. And then MA engagement. How can we better engage our MAs? How can we better support our MAs and help them communicate with each other, share ideas with each other? And we did that through the MA Spotlight webinars. And that effort is going to continue next year. I'm very proud of it. It really is allowing the MAs to have a platform and an opportunity to showcase all their achievements. So why do we ask the questions? Why be curious? Why even attempt change? Why not just leave it all as the status quo? Well, here are the reasons. We want to better serve and understand our MAs. We want the House delegates to be more transparent, more forward-facing. We want to focus on important issues that are important to our MAs. And we want to be a true resource for them. We want the MAs to know that the House of Delegates is there to support them, that WEF is there to support them, and that we do have resources available. They do not have to reinvent the wheel with every project that they want to take on. If we don't have the resources, other MAs have likely done that, and we can help make those connections. We want to better serve and understand WEF. We want to help implement that strategic plan, and we want to be a voice for the Federation. And then finally, we want to better serve and understand ourselves. How can we as delegates become better volunteers, better utilize our time as our volunteers? How can we better the industry and our peers and our colleagues? So when were these questions asked? We are where that bright yellow bar is. We are here. We are identifying necessary changes, implementing near-term changes and goals, and starting the implementation of longer-term changes and goals. And I want to point out one thing, that this process is not a one and done. It is cyclical. So after we prove success with these ideas and changes, or maybe we don't, maybe we prove that they don't work. But either way, we then repeat the steps. We start asking more questions. We continue that curiosity forward to continue keeping the HOD, present and engaged with all of our customers. So as the man once said, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And I truly believe that with the House of Delegates this year. They have worked their butts off, I will tell you that much. And it has been extremely rewarding to see all of the progress and all of the luck, so to speak, that the House of Delegates has had this year. And I just really want to thank everyone for all of their hard work. And I cannot wait to see what the future of the HOD holds. So thank you all very, very much. And as I pull my agenda back up so I can see where we're at, that concludes our House of Delegates meeting. Are there any questions or anything so far? Lou, I see your hand is raised. Nope.
I meant
Okay.
to clap. Sorry.
Oh, nope, you're good. All right.
Great job.
Thank you. Okay, so we're making great time now. I am going to roll it over into our final meeting for the afternoon. And I would like to welcome and call to order the House of Delegates business meeting. And we are going to start that meeting with the confirmation of the 2024-2025 House of Delegates Speaker. And I am going to invite Aimee Killeen to join us for that confirmation.
All right. Alexie and Kelsey and I couldn't remember how we've done this in the past, even though we've all been to this many, many times. But do I need to get a vote on this, Kelsey, or are we just confirming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a vote similar. Yeah. Similar to what we did with the trustees and everything.
All right. Sounds good. So I'll go ahead and we have Bill Davis, who is up for confirmation as our 2024-2025 Speaker of the House of Delegates from South Carolina. So can I get a motion to confirm Bill Davis as Speaker?
Yep. So moved.
Second.
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 Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh.
Right. So we got our motion and our second. Can I, all in favor?
Aye.
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 With no malice.
All right. Any opposed? All right. Well, that confirms Bill Davis as our Speaker of the House for this upcoming year. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Bill.
Thank you, Madam President. I really appreciate it. And we appreciate you being here and everybody being here. I guess I'll get started with my very first order of business, which will be to ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Scott Foley.
A second?
Second, Doug Pike.
All right. Any discussion? Any changes? All those in favor? Raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Wave your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. With that, I'm going to go ahead and scare everybody with trying to use technology. I know sometimes these Teams is crazy. Can y'all see my screen?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, hold on. Let's try that again.
We just lost
dropped
him.
off.
This is going to be a fun year.
Don't press the red button.
Yes.
That leave button is so close to the
I
share
totally
button.
hit the wrong button when I was trying to share.
No kidding.
So
We just lost our
let's try
speaker.
that again. And
Oh,
see
we
if
got it.
can-
It's there.
There we go.
Hey, there he goes.
Can you see it? If I hit this, can you see it?
Perfect.
Okay, cool. All right. Let's get started because I want to go ahead and scare three people into. I don't know if Stephen Sanders is here, but Aimee Killeen is here, and I don't know if Lee Thomas is here. But I'm going to go ahead and preface this with I will not read all of the words that are on the screen. These are for future reference for those who come to the YouTube. So y'all don't be scared when you see all these words on the pages that for those that like just pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the work groups for this year. And this is my contact information. So if you need to get in touch with me, my email address is on here and my cell phone number is on here. And if you send me an email that's really important and I don't respond pretty fast, it's because it got buried. So text me or call me and say, hey, you need to check your email. So I just want to make sure y'all know you can reach me anytime. I'm a public servant, so I'm available 365 days a year. So you call me anytime you need me. If you take a moment, this is the LinkedIn page. We would love to have you join the LinkedIn page. And this QR code should work. I tried it this morning. It seemed to work. So if you scan the screen here, you should be able to grab that and go and request to join the LinkedIn page. We would love to increase participation on the LinkedIn page. I'm sure Laura Jo would like that as well. We're trying to get the communications in a faster, more visual format. So we'd love to see you on WEF Unity. We'd love to see you on LinkedIn. So hopefully you got a chance to grab that. Let's look real quick, a couple of orders of business. Let's talk about WEF Tech. If you don't already know, you need to be there Friday night, October the 4th, because everything starts bright and early at 8 a.m. and we're going to be busy all day. There will be a volunteer activity, Hands on New Orleans, where we're putting some packs together. And I think that if everybody comes and participates, you might see a little friendly competition with the CLC in this. We had a great time last year, and I think we'll have a good time this year. And on Sunday, I always like to encourage everybody to go to the MA meeting, which will be before our CLC HOD joint meeting. And Kelsey, correct me if I'm wrong on any of these times and dates, but I think it's 11 a.m. We'll have our joint activity. And with these work groups, Kelsey, will we be able, I'm going to take it to the next slide, but will we be able to do the poll, the Sign Up Genius?
I will be sending it out later this week.
Okay, so you'll get an email about these work groups and you'll get to read the entire charter. But these are the dates. I want everybody to grab these dates for our quarterly meetings. Thanks to Scott and Alexie and Kelsey, we were able to set these dates ahead of time so that you can go ahead and populate your calendar and we won't have any conflicts, hopefully, by getting it in this early. So what are our work groups this year? We're going to have a few projects, and I'll explain that. Projects are more limited, like on number of people and specific tasks. So those are a little more defined as a project as opposed to a work group, but we call them work groups, but they're still more like projects. And the first one is the HOD strategic plan finalization and implementation. So this is more like a project, and it's going to be led by Lee Thomas. And with each of these people, I'm going to hit a couple of highlights. Lee Thomas is with Wheaton, and she's currently serving as DAL, supporting future generations of women water professionals. Water story. I didn't find a water career found me when I was fortunate enough to receive an internship with Austin Water as a sophomore in college. And from there, the passion grew. And boy, did it. Because Lee is about serving the water industry such that all humans and animals have access to water to sustain life. I love the quote that she has. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. With this work group, what we're looking at is having about 15 participants max, and the work group will finalize the House of Delegates strategic plan. And down here at the bottom, this is just kind of a quick summary of what is going to contain. So they'll develop the strategic initiatives and goals, the result, and by adding objectives, the why, and steps toward action and action plans and metrics are the how, and to identify which group will execute the plan for perpetuation. So we'll make sure we can move it forward and repeat that cycle like Alexie was talking about. The next one is also a project, and this is going to be led by Valerie, and this is some of her information. She's got some great stuff on here. You can read a little bit more about her. She's a member of the Georgia Water Professionals and currently a DAL, serving Black women in water and YPs of color. I love her quote. So hers is also Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it's the creation of 1,000 forests is in 1 acorn. So she says that she sees herself as an acorn, capable of anything she sets her attentions towards. Her hobbies are, I love this, nature and art using acrylic on canvas, with the style of art being called Afro-Galactic. Now that's cool. So she's passionate about using her gifts to help those that are in need. So love that. The committee, we also are going to be looking at a vice chair, and that's to be determined. So if you're interested in a leadership role and you sign up with this, that will be determined at WEF Tech most likely. So what is this work group? The intent of this project or this work group is we're going to have 6 participants. We want to set up a filing structure that can be used from year to year to house the deliverables and also to be a historical link to members and speakers and committee chairs and work group chairs and voluntary service award winners. So we'll have that for history. The members are going to develop a process for storing data in WEF Unity and or whatever other platform we want to look at. And they'll be able to sort the historical data that we already have. We're looking probably for the last 5 years to try to start out with, and to write a brief history of the House of Delegates and to coordinate with the Communications Committee. You're going to see the Communications Committee is going to be the recipient of a lot of information. So that's one of them. The next, the MA Spotlight and Engagement Work Group is going to be led by none other than Peter Garvey. So Peter Garvey's quote stands out really quickly for me. Don't wait. Don't wait. Sign up for these work groups. Peter's a member of NUIA and DAL, serving WEF's water advocates. His hobbies, this was funny, travel, tennis, and golf, which he's playing and watching. But now, according to what he said, rugby, he's only watching. He's not playing rugby right now. So I don't know if that's good or bad there, Peter. But Peter is passionate about getting acknowledgement, respect, and the full resources needed to provide clean water service to everyone on our planet. And he has a co-chair, which is Mr. James Hawthorne. So James is a member of the Water Environment Association of South Carolina and a very active member and a good friend of mine. And he's a DAL, HBCU graduates in the water and wastewater industry, as well as new WEF members who have less than 3 years of active service. His quote is, "We're all one decision away from having a completely different life. Therefore, always try to make the right decisions, even in difficult times." So, water story. Water is often taken for granted, and I am privileged to be an advocate for the importance and protection of water. I am passionate about making changes that will leave the world better than I found it. So what is this committee? This committee is going to build on what Alexie did this year. I know a lot of you saw a lot of the MA spotlights. We really enjoyed doing those this year, but we found it to be very time consuming and hard for us to follow up on. So what we did was we're trying to get this work group to increase MA engagement and create a sustainable process that can be handed over to who? The good old Communications Committee for future years. So we're going to broaden our outreach to MA members about each of these events and try to schedule them much further in advance so that we can make sure that we have everybody putting it on their schedule. We had a lot of turnout last year, but we're looking to increase that turnout this year. And we're going to look at platforms to try to get advertisement out there on social media using WEF social media staff to try to publicize that ahead of time. And so the next one, this is going to be a really interesting, very, very interesting group, the circular water economy. And we're excited about that. But guess what? We need a chair and we need a vice chair. So if you're interested in the circular water economy, pay attention, because this may be your chance to come in and be a leader. I would love to hear from you. If you're interested in leading this group, please contact me or Kelsey, and we'll get you plugged in. So this is a 6-month duration. So we're going to be looking at the intent. It's going to start out right out of the gate from WEF Tech. So the intent of this work group is to promote the circular water economy and help MAs share their work and gain easy access to available resources. The beauty of this one is we get to work closely with WEF staff, and it's going to be tremendous because we're going to be able to try to build buy-in for the MAs by going into WEF's 2025-2028 strategy for circular water economy goal. And we're also going to coordinate with staff on that same goal. That's going to be a great opportunity for this anybody that's in the circular economy space will want to sign up for this work group. Another one, a very exciting one that comes right on the heels of this one, will be the workforce development recruitment tools for operators. It's going to be led by Mr. Mike Welke. So Mike has been a member of the Ohio Water Environment Association for over 23 years. Be careful, Mike, you're telling your age with all these dates on here. So he's got a quote that says, "The difficult we do now, the impossible takes a little longer." Mike has been tremendous so far in the House of Delegates. We appreciate his efforts. I'm interested in the hobbies, not so much the gardening, but the craft beer. I hope that Sunday, after Sunday's meetings, that we will find some craft beers together and I will sing or either at least listen to Mike sing karaoke somewhere. The water story, his father called in a favor with a friend who was the director of the WPC, who hired him as a summer help and as a student. As you can see up here in the first part, he is now the director of that organization. So very cool that his passion about doing good, completing a task, and solving problems has made him very successful. So with this committee, we're looking for a vice chair, just so you know. The committee, the intent of this work group is to help MAs gain easy access to tools for recruiting operators from various sources. This is also going to be another nice opportunity to coordinate with WEF staff and work on the 2025-2028 strategies work goal to MAs, as well as working with staff on developing that strategy workforce goal. We're going to gather information from MAs who already have workforce development committees and implement this as part of the plan as we get moving forward. And last, but certainly not least, the DAL strategy and implementation work group is led by none other than my brother from another mother, Mr. Scott Foley. Scott has a great quote up here: "Never quit, persevere, adapt, and find a solution." And Scott does just that. Scott is a member of the MWEA and a DAL representing the industrial waste community. His water story is this: water found me, and he is always out to inspire the water community in pursuit of human and environmental well-being. Also, Archana Sharma is going to be the vice chair of this committee, and Archana is a member of WEET and a DAL. I had the pleasure of meeting Archana last year at the Texas Water Conference, and her constituency is immigrant workforce and DE&I initiatives. Water story: I learned the value of water and the importance of water conservation as an elementary student when we only had 2 hours of water supply in our taps every day for several months due to a shortage in water in her hometown. Archana is passionate about serving the community, and she believes in her quote, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." So what is this committee? This committee is going to be a 6-month committee, and it's going to be, the intent is to develop the strategy for DALs in the House of Delegates of the future and to implement the plan to roll out the 2025-2026 year, roll out for that year. Also, they're going to explore the creation of perhaps a DAL standing committee and look at the ties between DALs and the CLC and how we can strengthen ourselves in a network between the CLC and the MAs and the HOD and the BOT. So help underfunded DALs look for funding and potential grants to travel to WEF Max and WEF Tech. We've seen much value in the DALs being a participant in WEF Max and in WEF Tech. So with that, with a nice picture of a manhole from Park City, Utah, any questions for me? All right. Hearing none, I will go ahead and look at my agenda. And I think at this time we will hear the vision for 2024-2025 from incoming President Howard Carter.
Thank you, Bill. Can everybody hear me? I've been having trouble with my microphone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. So I think I know most of you folks on the call, but for you that don't, I am Howard Carter. I'm the President-Elect. I hail from Saco, Maine, where I'm the Utility Director, past President of the New England Water Environment Association, and also past Speaker of the House. I'm not going to dig too much into detail of what we got going because Aimee, Ralph, and Christine did a pretty good job of laying out where we're going to go for 25. But I think I'll just give it more of a 10,000-foot view. Whereas this year, WEF will continue to strive for a life free of water challenges, a clarion call to action for water professionals and communities alike. Attracting and developing a diverse and passionate water workforce, cultivating a purpose-driven community to sustainably solve water challenges for all, and leading the transformation of the restricted water economy. These goals will continue to be supported by strategies such as raising public awareness, reducing barriers of workforce entry, and fostering innovation through collaboration. WEF's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion in all endeavors will remain strong, ensuring that the solutions developed are as inclusive as they are effective. And additionally, by amplifying the stories of water, WEF aims to grow, strengthen, and diversify the water community, creating a collective impact that resonates across the globe. Individually and as the HOD, you play a pivotal role in promoting the strategic plan. Start by raising public awareness about the importance of water and the water workforce.
Howard, we can't see your slides. I've put it in the
I
message.
don't have any slides.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. So one of my top priorities next year will be focusing on the water workforce, or the people of water. Fostering employee development is a dynamic and multifaceted process that requires a strategic approach to unlock the full potential of the water workforce. It's about creating an environment where learning and growth are not just encouraged, but are part of the very fabric of an organization. We all play a pivotal role in this, acting as catalysts for employee engagement and retention by actively participating in team development. By investing in training and creating opportunities for advancement, companies can cultivate a culture of continuous improvement that benefits both the individual and the organization. This investment in human capital is not just a nice to have, it's a business imperative in today's fast-paced world, where the ability to adapt and learn new skills is critical. So I guess saying that, I think really one of my personal goals as WEF president will really help develop the water workforce and where it's really going to take us into the future. Because the future of water really is the people of the Water Environment Federation. And how we can strengthen that along with the other goals that we've listed, and some of the things that Aimee and Ralph and Chris laid out will really be good. And what all you folks are really doing in the HOD is very imperative. I like the way Bill did those slides in the groups. I think it's really going to help us meet the strategic plan. And with that, that's all I really have to say. Hopefully I can meet a lot of you that I haven't met on Saturday, and I'll be around all through the week, and feel free to approach me at any time. With that, short and sweet. Back to you, Bill.
Thank you, Howard. We appreciate that. I'm going to slow down for my closing remarks. And I went fast on that other one because I only had 15 minutes to get that out of there. So I started out as a junior delegate from South Carolina. It seems like just yesterday, but it's been 3 years. I can just honestly say I had no idea what I was getting into with the House of Delegates. I was learning. I'm still learning. Kelsey still has to coach me all the time. So I'm trying to figure everything out. And I didn't know much about it, but I knew a couple of things. I knew, number one, I was passionate about water. And number two, I really wanted to make a difference. So I think you can too. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I learned to make a difference in the past 3 years and the speakers that I had the privilege of working with over that time. So here's a few takeaways from my first three years. So I wrote down a couple of thoughts. So if you see me looking down, I'm checking my notes. So Stephen Drangsholt was the speaker when I started. And boy, what a WEF tech that was. It was incredible. He had a powerful but transparent demeanor about him. I remember him talking about being your authentic self and how we shouldn't be afraid of change. We should be willing to make changes. And Stephen taught us how to be bold and to accept the challenge of excellence as we proceed forward to be better than we are today. And I think one of the big takeaways could be summed up kind of like this. Someone has to lead. It might as well be you. Step up and take a chance. Are you willing to step up and take a chance with me today? I think we all can, and I think we all will in this coming year. Next, Donnell Duncan, the immediate past president. I mean, past speaker. I don't know if he's here, but Donnell taught me not to be afraid, taught all of us not to be afraid of positive change as he pursued the vision for the House of Delegates of the future. Every time I speak with Donnell, which is quite often because we have a podcast together, I walk away with a lot more knowledge. He teaches me all the time. Donnell took a journey where we embraced the vision of the House of Delegates of the future. He implemented major changes in the HOD, including developing the DE&I committee as a standing committee. And then he and Alexie later came in and put the communications and water advocacy as a standing committee. These are big changes. These are good changes. I would say one of the biggest takeaways that I had from Donnell was something like this. You never can create new opportunities if you keep settling for the status quo. Let's embrace change together. Let's challenge the status quo together. And lastly, and finally, our amazing speaker, Alexie Kindrick, she had the privilege of driving change this year as we developed our strategies for the future of the HOD. Her work defined who the House of Delegates wants to become. Her passion for water, you saw it before she had to turn her screen off. Her passion for water emanates from her face and her demeanor every time she leads a meeting. Thank you for your leadership this year, Alexie. We certainly appreciate everything you've done and that you will continue to do since we gave a past speaker a whole lot more roles now. With that, what was my impact from Alexie? It can be summed up kind of like this, and you've heard it, and I think you'll hear it some more. It's by being curious, but not judgmental, that we find out who we are so we can move forward to become who we really want to be as the HOD. So in closing, don't be afraid of change. Never settle for the status quo. And let's embrace the mission and vision of the House of Delegates of the future, because the future is bright for us. Let's pursue it together as we boldly go where no delegate has gone before. And check out the paste in the screen here. This is going to be my theme for the year: to boldly go where no delegate has gone before. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you for allowing me to serve as your speaker this coming year. And we will all see you at WEF Tech. I can't wait. I want to do a casual as well. I know we talked about this last year. I think if anybody wants to be casual, please be business casual, or wear your suit or whatever you want, but be comfortable and wear comfortable shoes. We've kind of said that all year. And with that, I'll take my second position here as something I've had to do, which would be to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Scafoli.
So moved. Thank you, everybody. I guess I will take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Nice job, Bill. This is Ken Schnarr.
Yes.
Hey, Ken
Excellent.
Schnars, it's great to see you, hear from you. Thank you all, and we will see you at WEF Tech.
Safe travel, everyone. Yes.
Not for this platform. Not for just because the possibility to be advanced. We've had that discussion. I think we lean towards doing it. The logistics of doing it are the hard part. So I think we'll do it to some extent.